A story is told of a man who was a commander in an army. This place was, this guy was lamed, and one time he wanted to have his men draw a portrait of himself. And he thought on how he can extract the thinking of the army about his being. Because some people in the army were really sympathizing with him and even worrying and wondering how he became a commander in the army. But honestly speaking, this man had the values that required management of that army. And that's why, in spite of his weaknesses, in spite of his lameness, he was given that appointment, because what was needed there was not the energy, the power, and the limpo, but the ability to manage the army. So this guy decided to get the feeling of his men on the ground about his being. Then he asked them to draw a portrait of himself. Then 10 men gave themselves for the job. But thinking how to do an image of a lamed army commander, it became difficult for them. And they pulled out of the job. But one man thought and said, can't I be creative, do a portrait which is true to the image of the commander, but hide his weaknesses? Then he did a portrait showing this commander kneeling down and closing his ear and targeting using the gun. And it became a wonderful portrait. Then the day came when they were to present the portraits. The 9 had not done the portrait, but this one man who used his brain came with his portrait, and it was wonderful. You know what? In that portrait, he covered the weaknesses of the commander. Until if anybody looked at this portrait from wherever in the world who didn't know the commander, he couldn't know that the commander was lamed and one-eyed. The guy was given many rewards. What is the moral lesson here? We should be able to cover the weaknesses of our seniors. We should be able to cover the weaknesses of our parents, our children, our spouses, our workmates. It doesn't pay anything to expose one another, but it pays a lot to cover weaknesses of those we are endeared to. But do you know what? How much weaknesses that Jesus covered? You know, all of us were created in the image of likeness of God. But sin brought a weakness in us that on the cross of Calvary, Jesus covered. Ladies and gentlemen, cover the weaknesses of your friend, the weaknesses of your spouse, the weaknesses of your children, because it pays more to cover them. Thank you, and God bless you.